In this video, I'm gonna be comparing the Horton Here's a Who animated movie from DreamWorks or Blue Sky Studios. I think it's Blue Sky Studios that put out the Horton movie. I know that the Lorax movie is from Illumination. I have seen both of them. Admittedly, the difference is I have seen Horton more recently. I've watched Lorax before, but I've not rewatched it recently. I'm sure I probably read books from Dr. Seuss back when I was a child. Those are obviously classic, iconic children's stories that practically every child has read. I mean, I actually have memories of that story, Green Eggs and Ham, a very simple concept where this guy's like, hey, do you want to try green eggs and ham? And so the character's like, no, 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 I don't like green eggs and ham. No, I don't like them, Sam I Am. Sam I Am chases him so much, and then finally he's like, oh, fine, I'll give it a try, then ends up liking it. Nothing complicated at all, but that's not surprising because it's a children's story. When it comes to these two movies, I know for sure, I easily think that the Horton movie is better than the Lorax movie. I think that the biggest problem with the Lorax movie is that there's no subtlety to it at all. Nothing is difficult to figure out. Like, the movie is just bashing you over the head with its message. You have an obvious generic businessman corporate villain. It's like, oh yeah, of course, we just have to do this. And a good amount of the characters are stereotypes. You look at it, you go, oh, of course, we have the embarrassing parent, the cool hip rocking granny, the girl that our main character is a crush on. Also, if you think back to the original classic Dr. Seuss story, The Lorax, big part of that story is the one slur always finds a way to convince himself to go bigger, to keep trying to make more of this product at the expense of nature, at the expense of the forest. But in the case of the Lorax movie, it plays out like you see this guy who at first is good. He's not at first a totally greedy corporate guy, and then over just the course of one song, boom, overnight douche. It's like, okay, this is not very good at all. This isn't very compelling that he just switches so quickly to a greedy businessman who doesn't care about nature. And also, one of the big things the story is supposed to be about is the idea that, hey, this could happen to anybody. But in the Lorax movie, that is frankly undermined because the movie makes you think, oh, this guy could have been good, except he has a really bad family. Oh, okay, it's the family's fault. They were the ones who egged him on to be more greedy. They're terrible people. So the message changes from this could happen to anybody to, well, as long as you don't have a terrible family, this could never happen to you. Also, you think about it, the movie is supposed to be about protecting nature, saving nature, caring about the trees, all that stuff. But the marketing for the Lorax movie was so blatantly corporate, so blatantly commercial. It's like, okay, this undermines the message your movie's supposed to be about. Like, the movie isn't very subtle at all about its message, but yet it was marketed in a way that contradicts that message. And I mean, there's only one song in the movie that's actually about saving the trees. It's like, okay, sure, I get that they're being ironic and praising overproductivity, but only one song about saving the trees? So I think the Lorax movie is just not very good. It can come off as dated, frankly, with some of the pop cult. I don't know if it's dated necessarily, but it has some pop cultural references in it. And it maybe have not aged all that well. So this movie just doesn't really have much to offer, I would say, whereas the Horton movie works a lot better. It doesn't have a message that it's bashing you over the head with. It has a story that's compelling. Voice acting is pretty good. I think the visuals are well done. I like the idea of this world that's contained in a single flower. And you have an elephant that discovers the world within the flower and is trying to save it. Well, this like kangaroo, I think, if I remember right, is not at all convinced this world is real. She's very skeptical and thus is trying to get rid of the flower, destroy it. But in the end, because the world within the flower, the people live in that world, makes so much noise, she actually does end up believing that these people do exist and thus they are all saved. So it's pretty heartwarming by the end. I like the character of Horton in this movie. So for me, it's pretty obvious which movie is better. I think the Horton movie is just aged better than the Lorax movie. It has more to offer. It's not so problem. What I'm trying to say is that it just does a better job of handling its subject matter well. It doesn't have a message that it fumbles, basically. It does what's trying to do really effectively. That's one of the big things working in its favor that you can't say about the Lorax movie. So yeah, that'll wrap things up for this one. I definitely think the Horton movie is better, for sure. That'll wrap things up for this one. Bye, everyone.